Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today. Well, we're taking a deep look into some classic source material, these historical strategies really, for gaining and holding on to power. Think of them as a collection of laws.
That's right. And we're drawing from uh, wisdom that's been gathered over thousands of years. These ideas come from strategists, people at court, figures like Machiavelli, Sun Tzu.
So not just abstract theories then.
No, not at all. And the real goal here, our mission for this deep dive, isn't just to list these tactics off. It's to get under the hood, understand the psychology. Why do these things actually work? Why have they lasted?
Okay, let's get into it. The sources jump right in, highlighting this core tension in modern power. You can't seem like you're actually chasing it.
Exactly. It's all about subtlety. You need to appear, well, the texts say, congenial yet cunning, democratic yet devious.
That sounds exhausting, like walking a tightrope all the time.
It is. And the absolute bedrock for pulling this off, according to these sources, is mastering your own emotions. Completely.
Why is that so critical?
Because any uncontrolled emotional reaction, it clouds reason. That's the phrase used. If you react emotionally, you're not calculating. You lose control
Yeah.
of the situation, of how people see you.
It's interesting how quickly we go from managing your own head to managing, well, everyone else in the hierarchy. Laws 1 and 11 hit this straight away. It feels like a paradox.
Yeah.
How do you survive if you're actually good at what you do?
Law 1 is that big flashing warning sign, never outshine the master.
Okay.
The idea is simple, but brutal. Your talent can make your superiors feel insecure, fearful even, and that fear, that's dangerous for you. So you have to make them feel comfortably superior.
Always. And the examples given are, well, pretty stark. Nicolas Fouquet, right?
Yeah.
Louis XIV's finance minister.
Yep. He throws this unbelievably lavish party for the king. You'd think, okay, great gesture, showing loyalty, showing competence.
He had Molière write a play for it. The gardens were amazing, apparently. So what happens when he shows off just how brilliant he is?
Louis XIV sees it completely differently. He doesn't see loyalty. He sees a potential rival, someone with too much wealth, too much influence, maybe too much taste.
So he felt threatened.
Deeply. Fouquet's brilliance basically made the king feel small, eclipsed. And boom, shortly after the party, Fouquet's arrested. Done.
And replaced by?
By Colbert. The sources make a point of calling Fouquet sparkling and Colbert bland. The lesson is pretty clear. Make sure your successes seem to enhance your master's reputation, not your own. Don't steal the spotlight.
Wow, okay. And that tracks with the story of Senno Rikyu, the Japanese tea master,
Oh,
late
yeah.
1500s.
Perfectly. He was a huge favorite of Emperor Hideyoshi. Hugely influential.
But he pushed it too far.
They did. He got so much status, he seemed to forget the rules. He commissioned this wooden statue of himself wearing special sandals, like nobility, and had it placed inside a palace temple.
Oh, bad move.
Fatal move. For Hideyoshi, that statue was Rikyu physically putting himself above his station. It hit that same insecurity button. Deeply. And Rikyu was forced to commit suicide.
So the rule holds, never, ever make the person in charge feel insecure about their position.
Never. But then you hit Law 11, and that's the other side of the coin. Okay, so you have to be careful not to outshine the boss. But how do you avoid just becoming disposable? How do you keep some independence?
Right. If you're just blending in, what's stopping them from getting rid of you?
And Law 11 gives the answer. Learn to keep people dependent on you. True independence, the sources argue, comes from being indispensable. You have to be needed.
Like a specialized part in a machine.
Exactly. They can't easily do without you. Your value isn't just what you do, but that nobody else can do it quite the way you can, or you're the only one they trust to do it.
And Otto von Bismarck is the prime example here. Starting out, no real allies.
Right. So what does he do? He doesn't try to buddy up with the powerful figures.
Yeah.
Instead, he targets the weakness in the system. King Frederick William IV.
Who was known for being indecisive.
Very much so. Weak, wavering. Bismarck basically saw a vacuum where the king's resolve should have been, so he steps in. He becomes the iron will the king lacks.
The iron and blood guy.
That's him. He provides the strength, the decisiveness, and by doing that, he makes himself absolutely essential to the king. He couldn't be replaced.
So he used the king's weakness to build his own power base, essentially?
Cleverly leveraging it, yeah.
Yeah.
He got the benefits of the king's authority without having all the direct political heat on him, at least initially.
Okay, so that's navigating the internal hierarchy. Let's shift gears a bit. How do you deal with the wider world, this sort of battle of perceptions? Laws 3 and 9 seem key here, pushing towards indirect methods. Law 3, conceal your intentions.
This one's fundamental. If people don't know what you're really aiming for, they They can't effectively counter you. They're always guessing, always off
So
balance.
you use decoys and red herrings.
Constantly. Misdirection becomes second nature. You never show your true hand until you absolutely have to or until it's too late for anyone to stop you.
Which brings us back to Bismarck. That speech he gave in 1850. Completely unexpected, right?
Totally. He stands up in Parliament, argues against going to war with Austria, even praises them. This was completely the opposite of everything he was known to stand for. Everyone was baffled.
But it was all an act.
Pure calculation. He knew Prussia wasn't ready for war then, and crucially, he knew the king wanted peace at that moment.
So by seeming to agree with the king,
Exactly. By seeming sincere about wanting peace, he got the king to trust him, to give him a key ministerial job. The king thought, here's someone who wants what I want.
and that job gave him the platform.
It gave him the power. From there, he could quietly strengthen the military over years, waiting for the right moment, and then achieve his real long-term goal,
Yeah.
crushing Austria. The initial speech was just a smokescreen.
That's deeply cynical about how politics works. Doesn't constantly hiding your aims erode trust? Do the sources mention the risk of being seen as just, well, manipulative?
They acknowledge that the perception of cunning might be unavoidable. But the key is, your deception needs to work. It needs to be effective, ideally undetectable, until the goal is achieved. They almost argue that blunt honesty is more damaging in these situations.
Like a blunt instrument.
Yeah, that's the phrasing used. A blunt instrument that bloodied more than it cuts, which leads right into Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument.
Okay, why is arguing so bad? Even if you're right, factually.
Because arguing, even if you win the point, breeds resentment. You force the other person to publicly admit they were wrong or ignorant. That feeling, that resentment, sticks around long after the argument itself is forgotten.
So you might win the battle but lose the war, essentially.
Precisely. The advice is demonstrate, do not explicate. Show, don't tell. Action gets agreement without making enemies.
And the example for this is Sir Christopher Wren, the architect
Right.
of the town hall.
Yeah, it's a great little story. The mayor of Westminster was freaking out, convinced the second floor of this new town hall Wren designed was going to collapse. He demanded more support columns.
Even though Wren knew it was structurally sound.
Right. Wren knew arguing about engineering calculations with an anxious politician was pointless. It was about the mayor's fear, not physics.
So what did he do?
He didn't argue. He just said, okay, and installed two big, impressive-looking extra pillars. And here's the genius part. He made sure they stopped about, 11 inches short of the ceiling beams. They weren't actually supporting anything.
No way.
Yep. The mayor saw the pillars, felt reassured, problem solved. Wren fixed a political issue with a visual trick, saved his design, kept the mayor happy, all without a single argument.
So Bismarck with his speech, Wren with his pillars,
Ah.
both avoiding direct confrontation, using actions or appearances instead.
Exactly. Let the results speak, or seem to speak, for themselves. Okay, let's talk about presence now, how you manage just being seen. Laws 6 and 10 cover this social physics. Law 6, court attention at all cost.
In today's world especially, that feels relevant. If you're invisible, you're irrelevant.
Completely. You cannot get lost in the noise. The sources say you have to seem larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. Stand out.
Does it matter how you stand out? Like,
Yeah.
Is bad attention okay? We talk about bad PR all the time.
According to these laws, for raw power, the quality of attention is almost secondary to the quantity. P.T. Barnum is the classic case,
The circus guy.
the ultimate showman. He didn't just tolerate bad reviews, he actively used them. He'd even write anonymous attacks against his own shows just to stir up controversy and get people talking.
So he understood that just being talked about was the goal.
Absolutely. Attention, positive or negative, was fuel. Being ignored, that was failure. That was the worst possible fate in this game.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty ruthless. And that kind of ruthlessness seems to carry into Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
Yeah, this one feels harsh to modern ears. It treats emotional states, especially negative ones like unhappiness or chronic misfortune, as if they're literally contagious, like a disease.
So the advice is just ditch people who are having a hard time.
Essentially, yes. Avoid associating closely with those who seem to constantly attract disaster or drama, because the idea is their problems will inevitably spill over onto you. They'll drag you down with them.
But that sounds incredibly cold. What about loyalty, helping friends? Isn't there a massive personal cost to just cutting people off when they're struggling?
The sources here are purely pragmatic, almost clinically so. They argue the cost of getting entangled with genuinely unstable or perpetually unlucky people is always higher than the cost of walking away.
And they give an example for this.
King Ludwig of Bavaria and Lola Montez. He was completely captivated by her. She was a dancer, very beautiful, but also incredibly volatile and trouble-prone,
And her issues spread.
like wildfire, according to the text. Her instability, her scandals, they infected Ludwig's entire court, created chaos, and eventually played a big part in forcing him to give up his throne.
So the argument is you think you're saving someone, but you're actually just sinking yourself.
That's the warning, yeah. Protect yourself from the infection of their misfortune. It's focused entirely on self-preservation in the power game.
Okay, that's a tough one. Let's move to the final main principle, strategic waiting. Control Law 8. Make other people come to you, use bait if necessary.
This is all about control dynamics. When you force the other person to react, to come to your ground on your timing, you hold the cards.
You save your energy while they spend theirs reacting to you.
Exactly. You make them abandon their own plans and play your game. It exhausts them, tactically and mentally.
And Talleyrand used this against Napoleon, even after Napoleon was already exiled.
Masterfully. This is high-level strategic thinking. Napoleon's on Elba, seemingly out of the picture. But Talleyrand and his allies don't just leave him there. They dangle bait.
What kind of bait?
The promise of glory. They know Napoleon's ego, his insatiable need to be back in the center of things. So they subtly encourage the idea that he could return, that France awaits him.
They wanted him to escape.
They wanted him to escape when they were ready for him. They were setting a trap,
Right.
using Napoleon's own predictable psychology against him.
So they controlled the timing.
Precisely. By luring him back before France was truly ready for another war, before his support was fully consolidated, they ensured his return would lead to disaster. Waterloo wasn't just a military defeat. It was the result of Talleyrand making Napoleon come to him on Talleyrand's terms.
As the source says, good warriors make others come to them.
And do not go to others. Talleyrand orchestrated Napoleon walking right into his final downfall.
Looking back at all these laws, appearing bland, being indispensable, concealing intent, using action not argument, courting attention, avoiding the unlucky, baiting opponents. There's a real common thread, isn't there?
Absolutely. It all circles back to this core idea of emotional detachment, cold calculation, meticulous performance.
It's like power requires becoming an actor, an artist of manipulation.
That's a good way to put it. Viewing situations objectively, like an artist studies a subject. Mastering your own emotions is step one, especially anger. Law 39 calls anger strategically counterproductive.
Because if you're calm, you can exploit the emotions of others.
Exactly. You remain in control while they react.
So if we boil it all down for someone navigating these dynamics today, the big takeaway seems to be, well, that the real work isn't necessarily in the doing, but in the seeming.
A huge amount of energy goes into managing appearances, into constant calculation, controlling how others perceive you and your actions.
You're always wearing a mask, playing a role, trying to cultivate this image of control and competence, almost a godlike aura, as the sources sometimes imply.
Right. Leveraging everyone else's predictable emotional responses while keeping yours completely hidden. It's all about the game, not necessarily about truth or loyalty in the conventional sense.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to chew on. If the world, especially the world of power, really operates on this kind of constant cunning and concealment, like these sources suggest, what's the actual cost? What price does that perpetual performance, that need to be calculating and detached, exact on the person playing the game, is achieving that godlike aura really worth it, emotionally?